You can't see how I'm looking down. Over a day, tomorrow will rain. You hear the voice of reason telling you this could never be done. No matter how hard reality seems, just hold on to your Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life with Shenita. My name is Shenita Connolly, and today's show is going a little deeper into our discussion that we had last week about being pursued and dating during COVID-19 and beyond. I am excited to bring back to the platform with me Pastor Gregory Devon. In addition to Pastor Gregory, we also have Elder Marcia Jones joining us for our discussion this evening. So it is going to be an amazing show. So I want you guys to sit back and enjoy this evening's show. And I'm going to bring them in. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you guys this evening. Again, Pastor Gregory, and to you, Marcia, thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here again.
Yes, a pleasure to be here.
So this was actually a really, really great topic, and so much feedback came back from last week that I thought, you know what? Let's bring you back and let's bring you in, Marcia. Let's keep talking about this conversation that is so important to so many people. So I want you guys, Pastor Gregory, I want you to reintroduce yourself. And Marcia, I want you to introduce yourself. And we'll start with ladies first. If you would introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. Thank you, Shenita, again for inviting me to be a guest on here. I'm very honored. My name is Marcia Jones. I am an ordained elder at New Vision Christian Church. As I was talking to Shenita, I have had many hats since I joined the ministry back in 2002. But one of my greatest things is working with women and ministering to women. And God has blessed me. So I started a Facebook virtual class for women back in 2017, and it has grown tremendously. The women are blessed. I'm blessed. They bless me as well. Right now, we are studying the book called The Esther Anointing. We come together every Sunday around 7:00 p.m. And I just invite any ladies out there that are not part of this fantastic, tremendous blessing to please join us. Shenita has joined us a couple of times, and I know that she spoke well of how the Lord really and truly blessed. Mm-hmm. I'm just so happy today to be here, and I am a divorced mom of a 24-year-old daughter. I've been divorced for 11 years, and I am truly in that dating world myself. So I'm happy to discuss this topic tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And yes, that group is phenomenal. I've actually been a part of, I think, 2 of your books that you've read. And so it's truly, truly a blessing in it and healing for those who become a part of that. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes. Pastor Gregory?
Again, I'm Pastor Gregory Devon. I do pastor New Grassy Creek Baptist Church in Oxford, North Carolina. I'm born and raised and reside in Durham, North Carolina. I do relationship events around the Triangle area when it's not quarantine, of course. And I'm a believer that strengthening the family, especially the Black family in today's society, is a must. And that starts with how you connect.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we're going to get right into our discussion. So we've had some questions that have been sent to me, and I've shared them with you all. And we're just going to start out with the first one as we go deeper into our discussion. The first question was, why do relationships fail? Why do you all feel relationships fail?
Well, I guess I'll start. They fail for many reasons, obviously, because relationships are built. I have a quote that I say, things don't end wrong, they begin wrong. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times relationships do not start on the right foot, whether it's because you're not communicating, or because you're holding back, you're hiding things, you haven't healed from some things from a past relationship. So you don't communicate those things. And as relationship move forward, that's when those things come out, because you can only hide so much. So I mean, like I said, there are several reasons why a relationship can fail. But I just believe if it doesn't start right, it won't end right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with everything that you just said. There are a variety of reasons that they fail. Sometimes they fail because we don't know who we are, therefore we don't know what we need, and we choose the wrong person. Sometimes they fail because we're not healed, because we've gone from relationship to relationship, and I've got all this baggage that's unchecked. You got sometimes, I have heard, and this when I'm out today, that a lot of Christian singles especially, are saying that they're trying their hand at dating outside of the church because they feel like they can't have their needs met by people inside of the church, so they're considering going against the word of God and being unequally yoked. So there are quite a lot of reasons that they fail. Sometimes they fail because, like the Bible says, that people perish for a lack of knowledge. Well, sometimes we don't know what a relationship is supposed to look like. We don't know the rules of engagement. We don't know how to connect, when to connect, if we should connect. We don't know what a marriage is, what a relationship is. So it's a variety of reasons.
Absolutely. And I know last week we kind of chimed in or discussed writing down some of our non-negotiables, and what does that look like? What are our desires look like on paper? Because sometimes I think we need to write it down and be very clear about what it is that we're looking for. And we know that the Bible for us is a roadmap. And so we can start there, and then we can add to that and write down and be very clear. I was very clear with my husband, Winston, very clear after so many failed relationships. And I can say they were failed relationships. And because I was moving from relationship to relationship to relationship, and I had a girlfriend who one of my best friends who was able to say that to me. She said, "Do you realize that you move from relationship to relationship to relationship?" No one had ever said that to me. And so I think that sometimes our people that should be telling us the raw truth shy away too from telling us the raw truth when we need to hear it. That checked me. And so from that day on, I was a better person. So our next question is, if you've been divorced more than once, what should you do to prepare for a successful relationship? If you've been divorced more than once, what should a person do to prepare for a successful relationship moving forward? I know we kind of touched on a little bit.
Well, since I am a divorced woman, I will have to tell you, my move, what I did. I went to God and I asked God to show me what love was. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, I didn't really believe that I loved my husband the way I should. I've always been in the church. I've been in church since I was 2 years old, and so it's not that I lack the knowledge of what love is. I lack how to love. I'd say also that love is the hardest language for us to learn. Is one of the hardest things for us to learn because of so many things, so many factors, so many things that we've seen, so many examples. I think Pastor Gregory mentioned it. How do we look at marriages? Did we grow up in a home where we had both of our parents there? Things of that nature. So I went to God and I asked him to show me what love was so that I could know, so I could learn. So the next time, and I hope there is a next time, that I would be prepared. I worked on me. I wanted God to work on me. I did not point the finger totally at my ex-husband. I didn't say it was all his fault. I shared some of that blame. I shared some of that, the marriage failing. And I had to take this intrinsic look at myself, and I had to be real to that own self be true. I had to say to myself, I wasn't the best wife. What did I do, or what did I did not do? What didn't I do rather, that could have made me a better wife? And I worked on those things, and I asked God to work on me. I believe we're always a work in progress. So for me, it's working on yourself, working on you, whether it's spiritually, financially, emotionally, physically, wherever you're lacking. Working on yourself and being true to that, knowing that you can be a better person. You are a better person, and making sure that you stay in that line, of progressing.
Awesome.
Yeah. I co-sign all that she said, and I would add that, I think it's very, very difficult for us if we've been divorced or if you have a bunch of failed relationships. It is really hard to look in the mirror and to face the ugly about you. It is easy for us to assign blame. It is hard to embrace accountability. And the reality is, for many of us, is that, we're not taught sometimes, even inside of the church, to face what we have done, because it's always a blame game. It's always more convenient for me to say, well, you did this or they did this. And I think that for many of us, get into a habit of doing that causes us sometimes to be self-righteous unintentionally. So what we really have to do, like was already said, is get back to who we are. The same thing we should have done prior to the marriage or prior to the relationship, do it now. It's never too late to do what you should have done. And a lot of times, again, we don't know how we connect sometimes. We don't know what led us to get married, what led us to get into a relationship. And I think that figuring out your unanswered why, a lot of unanswered whys exist in our lives that we move forward and never address. Why did you connect? Why did you choose to marry them? Why did you choose to get involved? Answering those questions helps us as single individuals now to realize, you know what? I went into this thing with the wrong motives or with the wrong objective. Do I even know what God's purpose for marriage is? How do I be successful for 25 or 30 years if I don't know even what God's purpose is for marriage? So it takes for us to really study ourselves, study our habits, study our past relationships, and fill in those gaps and those unanswered whys as to what led us to those behaviors. Because behavior is learned. So where are we learning these behaviors? And figuring out these things will help us in the future to not make the same mistakes.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. I mean, you both just nailed it. You nailed it. Yes, indeed. Oh, I was just thinking about myself as a widow, and I desire to marry again. And I just don't want to rush into something that looks good if it's not what God has for me. And so I've learned to be patient, commune with God to make sure that He has co-signed it, because I've already, made a mistake once. My husband passed in 2018 and got involved with someone without God co-signing it. So I know what that looks like. So I need to be mature enough to not make that mistake again. And like you said, answer the why. Why even do I want to marry again at 55, 56? is there an answer to that? Is there a legitimate reason for that for me? So thank you for that.
Can I just say this?
Uh-huh.
I often wonder, is there a right or wrong answer for why? A lot of, I have, since I've been in the church pretty much all my life, divorce was not really, it was frowned upon in the church that I came from. And a lot of people wanted to know why do you want to get married again? Like, and when as a divorced woman, or as a woman who wanted to get married again, I was scared to answer that question because that's another judgment. That was another judging of me. Because we would hear, don't get married so you can have sex. That shouldn't be your reason for getting married. Or don't get married because you're lonely. And it's so important that you are sure of the reasons why. I am not a big proponent of listening to other people. I do march by the beat of my own drum sometimes, and that could be conflicting with other people. I believe that God speaks to us, and as long as we are in His will, God will show us and God will guide us. But I just think that people have a hard time accepting your why, even when you know why it is.
And it's okay. Because they don't have, whatever decision we make, whether marry or not marry, it's like it's our decision and our personal relationship, vertical relationship that we have with God. And on to the next question, it says, can you tell me something about dating, particularly during this season, that some of the listeners may not know? Something about dating that we feel the listeners may not know.
I'm gonna let Pastor Gregory go first.
Sure. Everything that is familiar is not for you. And I think that we all need to understand that, in this season and every season, something can be sent from hell and look like heaven. Because the reality is, if you don't have your desires in check, whether they are sexual, whether it is your desire to be married, your desire for connection or whatever, the enemy will send you exactly what he knows that you want. It can come from hell and look and smell like heaven, but it'll put you through hell because it was masked in what you really want. It was masked in what you really desire, but because you did not allow God to fulfill that desire for you, and you operated in your time. And we know that the Bible says, don't be anxious for anything, but it's very easy to become anxious, especially in a season like this here. Quarantine is very easy to get lonely. And if you don't have your loneliness in check, and if you are isolated like we are now from other people, that's why we all need people in our life that will check on us, that can fill us in the spirit and know when we're going through, know when we need a phone call. And it's really important for single people, especially because we are by ourselves, to have people in our inner circle that we can trust. So, so in this season, if you're trying to connect, if you're trying to date, understand that don't lie on God and keep saying that, well, yeah, I know God sent me this. Because if you've been saying that in retrospect and those things haven't worked out, you've been unintentionally lying on God. Wait on the Lord and be of good courage, and know that when the Bible says that delight yourself in the Lord and He will give you the desires of your heart, what that looks like is abiding in the secret place of the Most High God and allowing Him to shield you and to be your protection and shelter from what is not for you. So in this season, we really got to hide ourselves in God and allow God to show us what we need. And now it's up to us to select it. But God will bring us what He has for us if we stay in God's will. We step outside of God's will a lot. And then we get upset with God and say, well, how could God allow me to go through this when the reality is you put yourself in that? we say that what God has for us is for us, but we end up quoting more songs than we do scripture. That ain't scripture. You know what I'm saying? And the reality is sometimes we try to speak out of our mouths what we've heard, sometimes even inside of the church, that is not biblical, but it's churchy. You know what I'm saying? Take one step, he'll take two. That's churchy. That ain't biblical. And we are expecting these things to have power in our life, and it has no power. So I'm going to tell you, singles, and I'm going to end it right here and say, be in tune with God, listen to God, and know sometime that God will get your attention through, it might be through people, it might be through leading you to a passage in the Bible, but be open, because when God speaks, it is no question, because you'll have peace.
And just to piggyback off that, before Marcia shares, in 2018, when, I was approached by a gentleman, it looked like what I wanted, but God clearly spoke to me and said, do not commit to this relationship. And guess what? Because Shenita wanted that, and it looked like heaven on earth, I went for it, and it did not turn out right. And so I think sometimes we can ignore the answers or the instructions from God because we want what we want when we want it.
Absolutely.
Well, I think Pastor Gregory said that eloquently. I couldn't put it any better. My thoughts were, be careful, because people hide behind different things. I know in this season, a lot of people are turning towards virtual dating. They're probably turning towards more dating websites now because of COVID and everything. And so my thoughts were, just, you have to be very careful. Your discernment needs to be on high alert, because like I said, Pastor Gregory already said everything. I'm not going to reiterate what he said, but I know as a woman, we get to a place where we are lonely, and I'm sure men do too, but I can only speak as a woman. We get very lonely, and what looks good, and sounds good, like you said, it's not always good for you, and you just have to take your time and be patient. And that's I know I have quite a few friends who've never been married, and they're they're in their 40s and they're in their 50s, and I understand the level of frustration, the level of being impatient. But what you don't want is the wrong man in your life. You don't want that type of stress. We're too old for that. So you have to be very patient, and I think that's one of the things we have to keep reminding our sisters, to be patient, to listen, because you can really hear what a man's not saying when he's talking, but you gotta pay attention, because they have figured a lot of us out, and we haven't figured them out. And so in this season, I mean, I have, and I'm not afraid to say it, or ashamed to say, but I've been on dating websites, and it when I get on, it's kind of funny, because I'll start praying. And I'm like, I'm gonna pray while I get on this website, because I don't want to get, I don't want to get fooled either. I don't want, I don't want to be taken aback by their looks and their smooth words, in this season. And I don't know who I'm talking to, virtually. I get catfished or whatever. And you would think, no, that won't happen to us. But clearly it happens enough that there's a TV show about it. So it does happen. And it happens to people who are in a desperate state. They're in a state of where they feel like, I'm isolated. Nobody loves me. I'm all by myself. I'm going to be a cat lady or a dog lady or a bird lady or whatever I'm going to be, and I just want to encourage my sisters that, Shenita said it about her friend, coming straight out, telling her we need to have those kind of people in our lives and in our circle, and not just in our circle, but in our corner. We need those people to tell us, girl, don't be getting on that website and, talking to strange men, giving them all this information, letting them know where you live and things of that nature. We have to be very careful. The enemy is very cunning, and the Bible is still true. He says he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And some of these people don't care anything about you. They will destroy you. They will take everything from you. And we've seen it. We've heard it. I just watched a video the other day where this woman was so upset because this man that she was with, he took advantage of her. He did all these things to her, and she was destroyed. And the enemy will do that. So my advice to women in this season is to be very careful, be patient, listen to what they're saying. Listen, read between the lines. Make sure, that you're not divulging any information that could put you in harm's way. So that's my point to that.
Mm-hmm. And that's those are great points. And I want to also offer to people to think about dating as exploration. You are exploring options, and when you explore, just like a job, you might submit your resume to 2 or 3 different companies, and you're looking for the best offer, the best fit. And I think a lot of times we think dating is sleeping with someone. I think dating is exploring, getting to know the person, and deciding if you're going to keep someone or you're going to get rid of them, just like they do with resumes. And I think we forget that it's an opportunity until we've determined that is the best suited person. We just make ourselves available to meet people, because dating doesn't, I think we've destroyed what the image of what that looks like. We think we associate it with sex, and it's not. It should be exploration, getting to know people, seeing if it's a good fit. If it's not a good fit, you keep it moving.
Yeah.
So I think we miss out on that part right there. So but thank you guys for that. That was really good. Are there any specific questions that a person should ask early on in the dating process when they're getting to know someone? Are there specific questions you would suggest that people ask early on?
Jokingly, in my group, my friends, group of friends and sorority sisters, we joke about certain things, but although we joke about this is it happened to me. You have to be specific about your question. First of all, are you married? Honestly, that is so simple, but that is a powerful question, because that happened to me. The guy said that he said he was divorced, and but he wasn't divorced. He was in the process of getting divorced. And in my dictionary, Marcia's dictionary, if you're in the process of getting divorced, you're still married. Mm-hmm. So you have to, first of all, I have to say what married is for me. And so when I found out that he was not divorced, of course I had to cut that off, because I'm like, you're not even, you're still married. You're still, legally married to someone. And you have to, that to me is the very specific question you have to ask. Mm-hmm. And of course, like, what are your intentions? Not so much of what are your intentions towards me, but what are your intentions in general? Because if they just, you're into casually dating, kicking it, hanging out and all this stuff, you honestly, if you're not there, don't waste this time and don't waste yours. So those are just 2 I have. I mean, I have several, but those are 2 that I like to know up front, because to me it's a no-go.
Yeah, definitely. Pastor Gregory?
Yeah. I'm going to back the train up. I think before we ask anybody else anything, we need to ask ourselves stuff, and ask yourself, Am I ready to date? Can I handle dating? Am I ready to love versus are you prepared for love? Those are two different things. All of us are ready for stuff, but are you prepared for it?
Mhm.
Whatever your answers are to those, by the time you get to a first encounter, an outing with somebody, for me personally, I would have already asked certain things to let me know, even if I want to engage you in person. You know what I'm saying? On a date. Things such as, what do you enjoy doing? You know, and the married question. I'm gonna find that out. By the time I get to this encounter, this first date or whatever we have it, whether it's dinner or whatever it is, my thing is I believe in taking the pressure off. I think that we make things very, very serious when they don't have to be. And one thing I disagree with that Steve Harvey said in his book is that on a first date, asking a person, well, what's your 5-year plan? What are your goals? This and the third. I'm not saying those are bad questions. I'm saying they're not always appropriate for a first date because you have made this thing already what you don't know it will be. You
Mhm.
know, if when I'm thinking about your long-term goals, this is when I have an actual interest in getting to know you romantically. This first date really should not be quote unquote romantic because I don't know you to know if I want to be romantic with you. And a lot of times we make things romantic off the bat. This is why we have a lot of individuals, men and women, who are heartbroken over relationships they would never end. We're saying that, oh man, you're heartbroken. It's like, but y'all went out twice. Why are you really hurt? Why are
Mhm.
you heartbroken? Why are you even disappointed over
Mhm.
somebody that you don't even know? That's why I'm saying we're not always prepared or even in the right mind frame to date because we make everything so serious off the bat when it really should be about you can have dinner with somebody and it be just that.
Mhm.
You enjoy their company and have normal conversation
Mhm.
just about whatever. It could be like if it was now. uh, how you feel about Black Lives Matter, or how do you feel about the recent election? I might tell you who they're voting for, but you can discuss the candidates.
Mhm.
Or anything, or current events, anything that lets you know who a person is and what they are about.
Mhm.
Listen to how they talk. Can they form a sentence? Do they put a period in the right place? Do they curse? What vernacular do they use? If it's really simple stuff that lets you in to know who somebody is. Just listen to them talk about whatever and see how intelligent they are. And then you'll figure out, should they be in the friendship category? Do they have any qualities that may lead me to think they could be a good partner for me in a relationship? But it doesn't have to be your first date where you figure all this out. It's fine to go out with somebody a couple of times and you may end up being friends, and that's
Right.
fine. If
Right.
no boundary is crossed, you're good. Just be friends.
Right. You
I
know.
totally agree. I'm sorry. I totally agree with you on that one. When I got divorced, I didn't know anything about dating. I felt like I got married when I was 22 years old. So of course, um, I didn't really know enough about dating to in the adult world. Um, I had no idea what the rules were. I actually said to some of my friends, like, what are the rules of engagement? And a few of them were like, there are no rules. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm very structured. I come out of a structured environment. So I wanted rules. I wanted, step one is this, step two is this, step three is this. And there wasn't anything like that. So I had to make up my own rules, like what I felt comfortable doing, and so honestly, when I went on my first date that I went on after I got divorced, um, I treated them like they were long time friends. We talked about nothing that had to do anything about being romantic or what our lives would look like in 5 years. Of course, I couldn't see day one, day two. I mean, but
Mhm.
um, I know that I have friends that do that. They want to know. Um, I want to know what it would look like if me and him get married. And I'm like, well, you just met the dude. I mean, why are you talking like that? And so I got a feeling that that's what they talk about when they go out with it. I like to have fun, so I agree with you, Pastor Gregory, on that. I believe that your first couple of days should just be about laughing, having fun, getting to know that person. I like to play games, word games. Um, I'm big on word games, and so I'm gonna say a word, and you say the first thing that comes to your mind. And I remember I went on a date with a guy. We were at PF Chang, and and I said hair, and he said long, and I was like, oh. Did you just say long hair? Okay. And we laughed about it. It was funny because I was like, you talking about you digging me, but I don't have long hair. But it was funny because I got to know, a lot of things about him that I probably would not have found out. I mean, I found out his favorite color, just things like that. I said vacation, and he said beach. So that means, he don't like going to the mountains, so it was just a fun way to get to know him. We laughed, and that broke the ice. And I mean, and then he got a chance to do me. He got a chance to say words, and I got a chance to say, the first thing came to mind. So I agree with you. Dating now to me is fun because I make it fun. But at the beginning, I was very stressed because I needed a book.
Yep. You're exploring your options. You're
Yeah.
seeing if it's a good fit, if not. Yes. And a lot of times people don't think that you should date multiple people at one time. I personally think that you can, as long as you can control yourself and you understand what that looks like and what comes with it. You guys may have a different opinion on that, and that's fine too, but that's just my personal opinion. Certain people can't do that. Certain people, can do that. So you have to know what you can handle and what you can't handle. What are your thoughts on that, Pastor Gregory?
My philosophy is always this: either you are single or in a relationship. So my thing is, I said before, I don't like to use the term dating or even date a lot, only because we all bring our own interpretation to the word. So when you start using terminology, then for this person it has these rules. For me, it has these rules. For you, it has these rules. So I call a thing a thing. Let's have dinner, and it's dinner. Let's hear some music, and it's hearing live music. Let's see a movie, and it's seeing a movie. My thing is, to do that for me personally, it takes what we have associated with dating off the table, and it kind of puts both of us at a more easier level of realizing, let's just enjoy this thing, call a thing a thing. It is what it is. And there are no strings attached. I mean, I have taken women on a first or a second date, some of my favorite restaurants, who may be a little pricey, not to impress, because I like it. And if I like it, I know you probably will too. And my thing is, just because I spend whatever I spend for this outing, there are no strings attached, because I want to provide this nice setting for you and me. And so I agree, you can go out with multiple people and it be just that. Because again, the problem comes when you start treating individuals like what they aren't. Like if we're not in a relationship, we're not cuddling, we're not kissing, we're not Netflixing and chilling, we're not doing anything that is relational. We are in public, we are doing things that everybody can see us. There's no holding hands. No, we're going to be out here with friendship. Again, fellowship, friendship, relationship, courtship. But know what ship that you're on. And if we're in this fellowship phrase, let's fellowship and greet the fella on the ship and figure out if we want to be friends, if we can be friends. And as long as there are no boundaries crossed, then there are no feelings that can be hurt, because it's very innocent and very at ease.
And I think, going into or friendships or getting to know people, those things need to be communicated. I know Marcia mentioned something about rules of engagement. I think that we have to be very clear about where we are so that there's no misunderstandings. And I think we don't do a good job at that. So, people are left out there, pretending or not being true to who they are, and just causes all kinds of problems. I know we are, coming up on the 8 o'clock hour, and I have a couple of more questions that I want you guys to answer before we shut down. Elder Marcia, what do you think it means when a person continues to date the wrong people? Can you briefly share with us what do you see the problem or the issue being when we continue to date the wrong people?
I think Pastor Gregory has already brought this out. He said you have to take that look at yourself. You got to know yourself. We always say if you're doing that, it's a common denominator. That common denominator is you, and you have to take that look at yourself. You can't keep saying every man is this, and then start categorizing all men to be dogs, all men to be this, and all men to be that. And we know that is so not true. But you have to take that look at yourself and understand what's going on with you. There's an opportunity at that point to think about, maybe how you were raised, maybe the examples that you've seen as far as men. Maybe you grew up with a man in the house that wasn't your dad, and he beat your mom, or he cursed all the time, or he did whatever he did. And maybe you feel like, some kind of way you think that's just how men are supposed to be. So that's the kind of man you keep attracting. So you have to take that look at yourself. Even with men, they may have had a female and a woman in the house, a mother or a grandmother or aunt or whomever, who always had men running in and out the house, and that's how they got their money. That's how they paid their bills. And so now he thinks that's the kind of woman he should be with because that's what he knows. We have to then take that look at ourselves and say, okay, what do I see as a role model, or what am I, what's the reason why I'm looking for a woman to take care of me? Why am I looking for a man to take care of me? Why I'm not, so I think you just have to ask the questions of yourself. I think you have to take that look at yourself and see, more importantly, God created us. Go back to the creator. Find out, how he created you, why he created you, and then understand who you are and the value that you hold. I just believe in going back to the creator. He created us. He knows all about us.
And I think that's good. Pastor Gregory said, last week you kind of alluded into getting to know people, getting to know yourself even this week. And I think it's important. You're right. We need to get back to service and purpose. You kind of talked a lot about purpose. When we know who we are and we know what God has created us for, then we will be living a purposeful life and not just out here casually running into people in circumstances that will, might not be for us. When we're living purposefully and we're connected with God on a personal level. And we're obedient. I said that I was disobedient. I was clearly in my ear. The answer was, but because flesh got into the midst of it and wanted what she wanted, I went a different route in it, and I caused myself some issues, and I had to work through that and deal with it and heal and get to a healthy place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A healthy place before I even entertained any relationship stuff. So that happens a lot. Pastor Greg, our last question that I'd like for you to answer as we prepare to close out. Do you think social media has helped or hurt dating?
I think social media is what it is. I think what social media has done is provided a worldwide platform for us to magnify the toxicity that already exist in our life in the dating game. Social media is to give us a broad platform to magnify toxicity, to magnify our own idiosyncrasies that hinder us. And, people have a lot of horror stories about some of these dating sites. But the truth of the matter is this: you don't find anything on a dating site that you don't find in real life. So all social media has done, it has just made it easier for folk to lie. Now, there are some success stories also on eHarmony or Black Folk Meet, whatever it is, Christian Mingle, whatever it is. Yeah. So my thing is your success chances are no greater traditional way or online. So social media has just given us a larger platform to present the truth of who we are or a lie about who we are. But it's just made either one of those available to the masses because, like, let's take Facebook. I could say whatever I want to say on Facebook. I could post whatever I want to post. I could wear whatever I want to wear. I could hold up $100 bill on social media every day, and some would believe, oh, he balling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a smart person would realize what people with money don't show it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, social media has just given us a larger platform to be seen. But the question still is, what are you showing? What are you presenting? It doesn't make it any easier or any harder. It just boils back to, for the Christian single, how in tune are you with your own personal discernment where you recognize what is for you and what is not? Have you done the self-work to discover, again, what your hierarchy of needs are so that you recognize? Because see, God, it ain't always that God has not answered our prayers. Sometimes the reality is that God sent exactly what you needed, but you kept looking. The other side of that coin is some folk keep taking themselves off the market for folk who still shopping. So you got to be careful either way, and just be aware of what you're doing, how you're presenting yourself, and just know that if you want to find a quality person, then you must be the person that your heart desire needs.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That was a great point. I oftentimes think that a lot of people look at the outside and they don't really get to look at the heart of a person.
Yeah.
I'm talking about truly the heart of a person, not what you see, but you need to know the heart of a person.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we see the heart of people and we ignore what we see. It's like, how did you miss that? You know what I mean? Yeah, it's not that hard to see. And I like what you said. We take ourselves off the market for people who are still shopping.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have truly enjoyed you guys sharing, going deeper into this conversation. I want you guys to share some closing remarks with the audience, as many people are still pursuing, they're still dating, they're still hopeful, they still want a meaningful relationship. They want to be in a healthy relationship. I know that's what I desire for myself and for others, not just a relationship that has no destination, as you said, but a healthy relationship if that's what the person desires. So would you, Elder Marcia, share with the audience, some closing remarks as to giving them some hope, giving them some wisdom? I know we've shared a lot of nuggets and a lot of wisdom for this, during this show, but will you leave some parting words for them?
Again, thank you again for having me on. As you were saying that, I thought, well, I probably need those same words. I would like to say that, and in this time, if we're talking just about, COVID-19 during this pandemic, but I think it rings true regardless of if we're in the pandemic, you have to be wise. You have to have a level of discernment. You have to have a relationship with God. You need to understand His word and His, and you have to have understanding of the purpose of your life. I've always said that marriage is a ministry, regardless of when you get married. It's always a ministry. There's a ministry involved, and so you have to be very careful of the people that you decide that you want to be in a marriage with. So for me, I would tell anyone to be wise, to have discernment, to pray, to seek God's face, um, and to stay in His will,
Yeah.
because when you step outside of God's will for your life, you're in a dangerous situation. You're in a dangerous area, and you have no covering. You know, the enemy, like I said before, the enemy, he's cunning. He wants to destroy us. That is his job. That's what he's here for. And you may not die physically, but you can be so broken and so abused by by things that you feel like you have no use, you have no more value, and he has now gotten you. So my thing is, you got to stay close to God, and when he speaks to you, you have to obey. um, you have to obey, because God's will for you is perfect. He loves all of us, and he wants the best for us, and he wants to give us. He's not that man that will withhold good gifts from you. He wants to give you that, and we have to be in that perfect will of God, that he can do that for us. Even give us the desires of our heart, but we have to diligently seek him. And so that's my words for those who are definitely searching and seeking and waiting and desire to be married.
Awesome. That was wonderful. Yes.
Amen.
Thank you. Yes. Amen. And Pastor Gregory?
Let me speak to their heart for a minute. Don't validate your pain so much that you invalidate healing. It is not that you are afraid of new love. You are afraid of old pain.
Mm.
And I don't want singles to get into a habit of throwing these pity parties. Tell the DJ right now, cut the music. The party is over. And understand this, that not only do you have to love the part of a person that you need, but love the part of a person that needs you.
Mm.
That is what love is that when you can love the part of a person that really needs you. Nobody is perfect, but if you want to exist one day in a for better or worse oneness type of love and marriage, you have to understand that every day will not be sunshine.
Mm.
But just know that in those rainy days, that's when this person needs you to love the part of them that needs you, not just the part of the person that you need. So, and realize that love is not based on the condition of the one being loved. It's based upon the character of the one who is loving.
Mm-hmm.
So, in your quest to find love, be to somebody else exactly what you've been praying that somebody is to you, because you will be no better in a relationship than you are single. So when you learn to be successfully single, then you're in position to be successfully in a relationship.
Yes.
I knew I had the right two people. And I am so grateful that we connected, Pastor Gregory, virtually on Facebook many years ago.
Yes.
I'm grateful that you're an advocate for relationships, healthy relationships. And Marcy, I'm grateful that we connected at New Vision Christian Church many years ago. And so I'm grateful that we had this opportunity to share with the audience. And I am hoping that we truly blessed them and gave them food for thought. And as you said, we spoke to their hearts, because that's, we want to create a new direction, a new way of doing things. And I hope that this platform will allow that to take place in some people's lives. And I hope that they will share with you or you, Elder Marcia, what this conversation has done for them. And so thank you all so much for being here again, Pastor Gregory, and to you, Elder Marcia, thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate just your willingness and your selflessness. And I pray that God blesses you both with the desires of your heart, whatever those desires are, and that you don't miss it and the person doesn't miss it. Because I honestly believe, and I'll share this in closing, I believe that because I have been overweight, that some men have missed out on a great catch. That's how I feel. I think that they didn't get to know my heart because they saw I was full figured, and their desire may have been for a small Barbie doll.
I got you.
So I'm going to say this to the audience. Don't miss a great catch because you're looking for a great fit.
Okay.
So don't miss
it. If she can't cook.
That might be true. So I just want to say thank you again, and thank you to everyone out there for tuning in to the show this week and next week. We have an amazing show lined up for us with the gentleman that's going to share with us how he was able to overcome diabetes and just get his body and his soul together. So I'm so excited to have this young man, Mr. Terrence Hutchinson, next Thursday. So hopefully you all will have an opportunity to tune in as well next week. And we just thank you. Somebody says, sexy thick is my anointing.
Okay.
I love it. Hello, somebody. Yes. So hopefully whoever that person is, that God blesses with that sexy thick person. I love to love on. So thank you all so much, and you have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
You too.
And stay blessed and encouraged.
Bless y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you all so much again. Thank you all so much again for being here this evening, and we hope that you will join us next Thursday. And please catch us on FAM Radio on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, you can listen here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you for joining Life with Shenita. Download the app, famradiostation.com, on Wednesdays at 7 and on Facebook Live and YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all so much for watching.